Hi, guys. This is the second of your four big questions for your final responses. And it's going to be about privacy rights. We talked a lot about digital privacy rights and kind of the government's invasion into the electronic side of your life. Throughout all of our kind of rights discussions and applications of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, we often came to this big idea and big discussion. And it's how we balance the rights of the minority, again, your right to privacy, your right to freedom of speech, etc., versus the collective rights of the majority not to be impacted by them. So in terms of privacy, your right to digital privacy online and not have, again, invasive government overreach versus our right to live, again, the collective right of society to live in a safe world that is not being threatened by terrorism and criminal actors. Again, it's that balance, that reasonable limit. That's what I always want you guys to be considering when we're talking about rights in general, the balancing. So when we were talking about privacy rights, again, tying it into the Charter is important. So according to Section 8 of the Charter, everyone has the right to be secure against unreasonable search and seizure. Emphasis on the word unreasonable. So again, in Canada, the first part of the Charter is the Reasonable Limits Clause. So you have the right to privacy in Canada, but that right is definitely limited to the collective security of the majority. So the government can invade your privacy when they obtain a search warrant, again, legal right to enter your private residence or private car, depending on what it is. This is where the police have shown probable cause and presented that probable cause to a judge who has signed off on this. There is the safety aspect for police officers. They can, in one regard, search you if they're arresting you for their own kind of like safety. They can pat you down for a knife if they're arresting you. And the second part are what are called exigent circumstances. So again, a police officer is going by your house and they hear gunshots. They can enter your house in that circumstance, even without a search warrant, because of the dangerous circumstances that may be going on, and they should be intervening. So if they don't, maybe somebody dies. And lastly, the plain view rule. Again, a police officer is walking by your house, you have your windows open, and they can see criminal activity going on inside. They don't have a warrant, but they have a plain view of criminal behavior, so they can enter in that circumstance too. But we also balance these ideas with your privacy rights within school. And we talked about at length how your privacy rights within school are definitely different than your privacy rights outside of school. So the law has been changed. There is case law. Remember, RVAM and RVMRM changed the law within Canada as to your personal privacy rights. So you do have some rights within the school towards privacy, but they're definitely limited because the courts have said the collective safety of students is more important than your individual right to privacy. After we talked about this in the class, we kind of extended the idea of privacy rights to the rest of the world, and especially your digital privacy, just because of the interconnected nature of the world we live in, where everybody has some type of technological device on them almost 24/7. Whether that's your cell phone or your Chromebook you were issued in grade 9, you have a device. And especially in our COVID world right now, we are very much dependent on these devices to even do our schooling and conduct our daily lives. So like Snowden said, Edward Snowden, again, a man's phone is his castle. Again, every part of our lives are on these devices. So when we have an incident like September 11th, again, the most dramatic and terrible, deadly terrorist attack in North America, should the government have the ability to invade our digital privacy in order to prevent something like this? Should they have the right to look into your, again, cell phone, to look at your messages? And they do to an extent through the PRISM program. And should they have the ability to look at your metadata? Again, that's your location and your communication data, where again, it's very easy to, again, for someone armed with the right device to figure out who you are, who you're talking to, and kind of like your kind of network of people that you're associated with. Is that the one step too far? Should they have the ability to figure out exactly where you are all the time and the content of your communications if they want to keep you safe? Is that a reasonable trade-off? Okay, so this is your kind of big idea, your second big idea for the course. You can tie in any of the things you talked about in your privacy rights essay, any of the things we watched or read as a class, or your own information that you've obtained outside of this class as well. If you have any questions about digital privacy or privacy rights in general, Gmail, Google Classroom, or Google Meet. Have a good day, guys.